Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Ashley Mailloux, taking a look at race number 6 at Santa Anita on Sunday. Could be a nice prep for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. This is the Grade 3 Zuma Beach. We're going a mile for 2-year-olds. Let's take a peek at this quality 9-horse field. The number 3, Endlessly, has done nothing wrong for trainer Michael McCarthy. 2 for 2 going a mile on turf during the Del Mar Summer Meet. Looked good against stakes horses last time out and just seems like the horse to beat in here.
I agree. I do think this is the one to beat. A really nice son of Oscar Performance, who on debut got sensible fractions, was pretty close to it, made a late move, and then with a quicker pace in that race on September 10th, had to close from off of it and still was able to get the job done. But I think if you're looking elsewhere, Michael McCarthy sends out a couple others in here that are intriguing. Richard Mandela's horse on the outside, Voltage, was third last time out going a mile. There's a lot of horses to maybe give a look at, but I do think they're going to be trying to beat Endlessly here.
Let's see how the pace plays out. According to our friends at Timeform US, they're expecting this pace to be fast. The 6 Grand Mo, the first, stretching way out in distance, switching surfaces. Formidable Man was on the lead last time out. Voltage, I think, is more of a tactical type that's going to take back. I'm not sure the pace is going to be blazing, but it should be fair.
I think it should be fair. I think looking at some of the horses as we kind of see here, Granmo, the first coming out of those sprints, should be tactical, has been really quick in those and should be forward, I should say. And a couple of others from what we've seen from a limited number of starts, they haven't been too far off of it.
Number 1, Mises Express wouldn't mind a fast pace. This is a very likable California bred, but he's going to be trying turf for the first time as well as open competition. He's done little wrong in his 2 starts against winners, both against restricted company, but right there at the wire both times.
He's also going to stretch out to a mile, but he's a horse that, as you've mentioned, on this gradual stretch out, he's had those 7 starts, which is a lot more than most in the field. He's actually relished the longer distances. I thought he looked pretty good last time out in defeat, missing by a nose, but you've also alluded to the fact this is open. These are deeper waters.
One of 2 horses in this race cross-entered for Saturday action is the 2 Naganu, goes out for Michael McCarthy. This horse just missed in his debut, and he took a lot of money. It was as if they knew this horse could run a little bit. He battled it out with Formidable Man, his stablemate, and he was right there at the wire. I could certainly see him moving forward. I could certainly see him falling into a very good trip from this inside post.
I completely agree. I do think he could get a good trip. I guess the question is, and you look at this field, Michael McCarthy's got that 3 punch. If you like him, do you have to like his stablemate, Formidable Man? I think there's takeaways from both of their efforts, and I think they both raced good, and they were both forwardly placed, which is not necessarily something you see all the time from stablemates. But I do think it was a respectable debut, and they must like him to put him in this spot.
Let's watch the talented number 3, Endlessly, win his second lifetime start, the Del Mar Juvenile Turf, and he just put himself into the race on the turn with a 3-wide bid, and he sustains the run all the way down to the wire. He seems like a very precocious yet professional colt that knows what to do once he gets his nose in front.
Completely agree. I think he hasn't really shown any of that greenness that we sometimes see from horses early on in their 2-year-old career. He's been very professional, and I like the way that he was able to open up there. I talked about it earlier. I think, different pace setups in those 2 races, but he's shown he has that adjustability, which sometimes we don't see with the youngsters.
A European import is the number 4, Pour Dompte. This horse has been running in France, now with Phil D'Amato. And we know D'Amato is always dangerous with turf horses in major races in Southern California. I got to look at this horse's last start, going 3/4 of a mile, and it looked like he was sort of in behind horses at the 2-furlong mark, got into the clear, was running on late. I think he's going to handle the mile with that European pedigree. And again, you do have the D'Amato factor here. He's had this horse for about a month.
And I think the race at 7 Ace, 3 starts back, was actually respectable as well. So I like your train of thought on the stretch out that this horse can improve. And when you see those connections get involved and start bringing horses over, it typically does work out quite well for them.
If the number 5 Rothschild runs here instead of, I believe he's entered in the American Pharoah on Saturday, he can be a strong contender despite trying turf for the first time. He's by the extremely versatile stallion Uncle Mo, plus he has speed and some stamina on the bottom of his pedigree.
Yeah, I think it's a curious spot to see him cross-entered. They're different races. Yes, they're going long, but mile and 16th on dirt, mile on the turf here. He hasn't tried the turf, but I wonder from a pace perspective what the move will be. Was forward 2 starts back. Last time out, he simply just couldn't keep up with them, and he did not have the perfect break. He's a little bit of a wild card in that regard.
Another Uncle Mo colt is Grand Mo the First, a perfect 2 for 2 down at Gulfstream Park over there to PETA service. Here's the second start. He showed some grit in this race. A second level allowance. He has the tactical speed to work out good outside stalking trips like this one, but it looks like he's in some hot water. It really takes him a while to reel in this leader, but to his credit, he does.
He somehow is able to do that in here, and obviously it looked like when you look at the 5 horse, the rail
Yes.
kind of closed up on him and didn't have much of a bid, but he gets up there. I think looking at that performance though, you would think he can go longer, and his pedigree suggests that he can go longer as well. So for Victor Barbosa Jr. to send this horse out there, I think he likes a lot about this one.
Got a strong buyer speed figure for that race, the 79, but in watching that race, you wonder what would have happened if the 5 got through. Ace of Clubs is the number 7, another horse trying turf for the first time. This horse was entered for a tag in his first 2 starts. He scored second out going 5.5 furlongs. He really put it all together on the dirt last time out against starter optional claimers. So big step up in class, stretch out in distance.
I wonder if he's been a little bit of a shock for the barn. We saw him for 50,000. He debuted decently. Then they go up for that $100,000 maiden, which we don't see all the time. Ends up winning, gets another win under his belt. So now they're going to take a stab and try something new with him. To me, maybe they had lesser expectations for him and he's been able to shine. But again, he's going to have to stretch out and try a new surface.
Here's Formidable Man pulling off a mild upset over his more well-regarded stablemate in the career debut, and this is just a game performance. Formidable Man showed speed. It's never easy for any first-time starter, especially a 2-year-old, to win going a mile, and he just outstays this group.
He does, and he's got a battle on the inside, and I think that's sometimes tough, but he does kick on, and you can see it right there about 3 strides before I mentioned it. He started to open up, tried to open up, and then they let up on him. They didn't need to ask him anymore. So, I wonder again, like I said, it's tough for me to make a huge, distinction between him and his stablemate.
Voltage completes this field. He looked good winning his turf debut 2 starts back. Now, he was no match for Endlessly in the Del Mar Juvenile Turf, and I just couldn't really find an excuse. I just thought Endlessly was better than him on that day. He'll need to work out a trip from the outside post, but it's way too early to give up on this horse. He was favored against Endlessly last time.
Yeah, I don't think you can give up on him. I mean, they tried a very similar trip where he's tactical, he's just off of it. And as you've said, Endlessly was just better. Maybe that is a little bit of a determination who's the better of these two. But Richard Mandela does a great job. And I think this one, maybe something didn't, fire last time out. And he's interesting also, I think, from that outside draw.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Zuma Beach. It kicks off at pick 5 at the Great Race Place on Sunday. You're going with Endlessly, simply the horse to beat. I expect this horse to be firing on in the stretch.
I just like that he's been able to be placed in different positions early and has still been able to get the job done. It's looked easy both times, but I think the price is also going to be very short. And I like that you're going with a horse that we don't know a ton about, at least, stateside, but has some really good efforts under his belt.
And he has a very good trainer behind him in Phil D'Amato. I'm curious to see what this French Raider does in the Zuma Beach. 3-4-6-9 for Ashley, 4-6-3-1 for me. It's the grade 3 Zuma Beach, potentially a nice prep for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf.